Hey everyone, hopefully you've enjoyed our new song, Escape. That song is really special to me, and given the fact that it's out in the world now and people are hearing it and potentially curious about where it came from, I wanted to give a little insight into that and share a little bit about the experience that triggered this song creating itself. So that's what we're going to talk about. Last year, 2018, was a really, really hard year for a lot of different reasons. It was also a really great year for a lot of different reasons, but this particular song was born out of some really, really difficult experiences. And it all started at the beginning of the year last year when my wife's mom, her cancer resurfaced. So she is a cancer survivor, and her cancer came back. And it came back with a lot of really odd and extreme complications that landed her in the hospital very quickly and very unexpectedly. We had to rush across the country, drop everything, and just focus on getting her mom and her family through that week of kind of uncertainty and trying to figure out what was wrong with her mom. So obviously that week was really, really intense. Thankfully, she made it through. Looking back, though, we're pretty sure that she did almost die, and we're very thankful that she didn't. But that week really felt more like a month, and getting back to LA after that, when we were finally able to come home, we were both really shell-shocked. We'd never experienced anything like that before, and we hadn't planned to go and come back, and so there was nothing in our house. There was no food to eat. We were getting back late and exhausted, and so we went out, and we were sitting at this little neighborhood spot close to our house, and just kind of trying to reset and reflect on what had happened over the past week and how we were going to move forward from there, and both coming to the realization that it was going to be a really tough year. And then, of course, at the most inopportune time, this melody just pops into my head and wouldn't leave me alone. And that, honestly, that's pretty typical. Songs come to me in really weird times. Really, I feel like it's the songwriting gods just trying to find different ways to poke fun at me, make jokes. But in this case, I really did try to focus on our conversation in the moment because it was important. But this thing kept repeating over and over, and so I stepped outside to take a voice note, which is the way I kind of capture these things. And it's interesting, though, because it wasn't like a particularly catchy, hooky melody. It was kind of meandering, and I couldn't even really tell what the beat was. It was odd like that, and so it was intriguing. So I just basically started humming it into my voice recorder, and all of a sudden lyrics started happening. And so I started just following along with the lyrics, and I was trying to type them as well. And I realized that as I was kind of singing into my phone, I was hearing stuff in my brain that it kind of felt like production taking shape. This weird drum groove started going along and just following the melody, and all of a sudden things clicked and it started to make sense because everything was just focused around this odd melodic thing that wasn't particularly one meter and it wasn't particularly another, but somehow the drum groove with these weird melancholy bouncing snare rolls, they kind of followed along with it. It was interesting. I've never really had anything like this happen to me before, where the whole production just kind of formed in my head while I was trying to focus on taking a voice note quickly so I could get back into the very real situation that I was dealing with my wife and my family. In those moments, I have to kind of go with it, and so I did, and I was writing down all the lyrics as they came, and I was voice noting the melody and writing down notes about the production that I was hearing as well. And I got so wrapped up in the moment, I was just kind of in my own little world of being distracted by the things that were creating themselves out of thin air and trying to capture them, that I didn't even realize that it had started to rain. And I was just standing out on the sidewalk. Where I grew up, it rained all the time. And out here in the desert, it's a rarity, and when it does happen, it cleans everything and the air smells different, and it's just really beautiful and soothing and comforting. So I finished what I was writing, and I looked up and I noticed that it was raining and I was starting to get wet, and the last verse just wrote itself. And so that's kind of how the song started, and as quickly as it all created itself, that must have been 5 or 10 minutes total. It took pretty much the entire rest of the year to put it all together and to make that vision happen. The writing was really just the beginning, and looking back on the past year and the creation process, I realized that I was processing all of these different emotions throughout creating the production and singing the vocal. And so I do want to get into that, but we'll talk about that another time.